Well, there's no end in sight to the war in West Asia. The conflict has entered its second week and the rhetoric is only getting sharper. Bombings continue, not just in Iran or Israel, but across the Gulf. And now US President Donald Trump has raised the stakes even higher. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump has made three big claims about the war against Iran. First, he says American and Israeli strikes have wiped out Iran's military capabilities. Second, he claims Iran's navy is now at the bottom of the sea and its air force destroyed, its missile and drone network severely damaged. And third, Trump has laid down a clear ultimatum for Tehran, an unconditional surrender. According to the US president, that surrender means Iran must cry uncle or be left with no military capability to fight at all. Listen in.
We're winning the war by a lot. We've decimated their whole evil empire. It'll continue, I'm sure, for a little while. But very proud of the people, the parents. The parents were so proud of their boy, as they call him, my boy. The young lady. The parents are so proud. Many of them are military parents, as you know. So but it's always a very sad thing. The war itself is going unbelievably. It's as good as it can be. Well, I think we've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible. We've wiped out their Navy, 44 ships. We've wiped out their Air Force, every plane. We've wiped out most of their missiles. You see, the missiles aren't coming much anymore. We've also hit their manufacturing areas where they make the missiles very hard. Their drone capacity is way down. And we've hurt them where it hurts, including about every form of leadership you can have, we've wiped out.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
In response to that allegation, did the U.S. say that these are?
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalinization plant other than to say, if they're complaining about a desalinization plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Meanwhile, Iran has hit back. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has reaffirmed that Iran will firmly defend its sovereignty and will not allow any country or force to occupy even a single inch of its territory. He said that Iran will respond forcefully to any attacks on its territory. And not just the president, but close aide of Ali Khamenei has also warned US. This is Ali Larijani, the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. He says that Tehran would avenge the blood of their leader and people. He's further said that Trump must pay and will pay the price. The war rhetoric between Washington and Tehran is sharpening. While Trump has responded to Iran's top security official Ali Larijani's warning, Trump brushed off the threat. He said that he couldn't care less about Larijani's warning and claimed that Iran has already been defeated. Let's quickly take this across to our guests. Joining us at the moment is Einat Wilf, who's chairman of the Oz Party and author of The War of Return. He's a former member of parliament of the Knesset as well. We have Lieutenant General K.J. Singh, former Western Army commander, joining us. Veena Sikri, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, is also with us. Veena Sikri, let me begin with you. The question that is on many people's minds is that this doesn't look like a war that's in any way going to de-escalate anytime soon. What is of huge concern is that how will this impact on India? Because the way that oil supply chains and depots are being disrupted, both in Iran and, of course, in other Middle Eastern countries now, the entire attack is on the desalination plants. What are we looking at in terms of its impact on India, particularly on Indians who are there in the Middle East?
Yeah, this is, of course, as you said quite rightly, Madhav, that this is the primary concern for us, that the impact on the Indians, close to 1 crore of Indians living all over the Gulf, and this has been the primary concern for us from day one. And in fact, also, of course, as you know, the remittances that come in from there, that's number one, the trade that we have with the region, and also the security issues for our energy security. This is, of course, of vital interest to India, and all these aspects are being affected one by one by one. You're quite right to say that as the second week starts, there has been a huge upspurt. Yesterday, it looked like there was some kind of an apology from President Pezeshkian, but I think that was clearly misunderstood. What he was saying actually was appealing to these Gulf countries to put in their bit to get this war to stop. I mean, he does not want to hurt them, but it's going to happen as long as they support USA and Israel. And today, I think the news that has come is very significant, that the Emir of Qatar has had a long telephonic conversation with President Trump. And he has actually pointed out to President Trump the dangerous consequences of this war continuing. And in fact, he has called for dialogue and diplomacy. So it's very significant that he has actually telephoned President Trump and expressed the serious concern, the regional and global security implications, clearly indicating that there will be implications if this continues. Because they are hurting. You know, we know that Qatar has stopped all production of LNG, and they are in a huge state now. So this telephone conversation, I think, is the first direct indication. I think there must have been informal communication before between the Gulf countries, you know, UAE and others in Kuwait with President Trump, but this is a formal indication from the president, from the Emir of Qatar's office, that this initiative has started, and I really hope that this appeal for dialogue and diplomacy that has been made by the Emir of Qatar will be heeded by President Trump, because this is what India has been saying all along.
Well, President Trump doesn't seem to be in any mood for dialogue, just purely judging by the statements that he's making. What will happen, of course, we'll have to watch out for. Let me also bring in Lieutenant General KJ Singh. Lieutenant General Singh, this is a very big problem, because as Veera Sikri was saying, while the appeal may be going in from Qatar, from other countries, and it's also been widely reported that a new Ayatollah has been elected, a new supreme leader has been elected there in Iran. The question is, will this change the US administration's approach towards this war? Because they don't seem to be engaging or appear to be interested in engaging with any administration there in Iran at the moment.
Madhav, Jai Hind. See, firstly, don't go by what is being pushed out as part of narrative warfare. Lots of it is psychological in its dimension and content. So when Trump says that he won't talk to anybody, he wants unconditional surrender, just take it with a pinch of or a bucket of salt, I'll tell you. Behind the scenes, there are pressures being applied. He is an irrational man, but irrationality has limits. It cannot go on to an extent where it starts harming him only. So, to an extent, he'll have to heed to all these appeals which are taking place. See, what is worrying is that you make a statement like this, Navy is destroyed. But Iran has two navies. Iran has got a conventional navy and a navy which is operated by IRGC, Revolutionary Guards. And that navy controls the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf. Now, you might say anything, but 11 vessels have been hit. Insurance underwriters have suspended insurance or have jacked up the prices. So it's beginning to hurt everybody. And the fact of indiscriminate targeting, desalination plant, it's a very dangerous thing, because these countries, all of them survive on reclaimed water. So here, energy supply is disrupted, desalination plants are getting targeted, and American bases. Let me tell you what readings I have done. At least 5 to 6 bases, Al-Udaid, Al-Kharaz, and I forget their names, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, their surveillance systems are degraded. Okay, not destroyed, but degraded. So these drones may not destroy things so much, but they degrade, certainly. And see what may happen, Madhav, which is the long-term damage. After this war, all these Gulf nations may tell America that we don't want your bases again.
All right, that's a possible outcome, certainly within the realm of possibility, as you rightly said. But we'll have to see how things pan out, because there's more breaking news coming in. A fuel facility in Karaj continues to burn after it was attacked by the Air Force yesterday. Authorities say that the fire is still being brought under control, with visuals coming in showing thick smoke rising from the site. The strike is part of the ongoing escalation in the region. And let's quickly take this back to Veena Sikri. Veena Sikri, at this point of time, town after town in Iran, we've seen this even in Tehran. These are images, of course, coming out of Karaj, where the oil depots are clearly being targeted. Thick plumes of smoke that are seen in various towns and cities. But what's of bigger concern is the manner in which desalination plants are also being targeted, which means that the civilian population, leave aside the military aspect of it, even the civilian population is going to suffer immensely.
Yes, absolutely. I think this movement to civilian targets like the desalination plants is very serious. So just as you are showing the targets in Iran that are being hit, I think the news about the targets in the Gulf countries, which are continuing to be hit. And I agree with General Singh that the destruction of American assets in this region, the THAAD missiles, I mean, they say that 3, THAAD missile sites have been destroyed, which is more than $1 billion in damage just from these 3 sites, in addition to all the other damage to the infrastructure. And the way in which the leadership in these countries, in the Gulf countries, is now reaching back to the American leadership and telling them that this question of continuing American facilities in the region may be at risk. But this is precisely the message that Iran wanted to convey. That is why they have been hitting out at the Gulf countries, because the Gulf countries house bases for America, for American forces. And they want to make it impossible for these bases to continue. Hitting the desalination sites, water desalination sites, is very major. That's really major, because it affects water supply and you can't replace it quickly. Where are you going if a desalination plant is hit? And this region, the Gulf region, has some of the largest desalination plants in the world. So it shows how much they are dependent on this desalination plants for their regular water supply. So, while electricity is one thing, and, the high rises are being hit because then there's no electricity, then, for people living on the higher floors, it's so difficult and impossible. I know of people in Dubai, the Marina building, which was hit yesterday, and people having to leave at a minute's notice, with nothing at all. So this impact on the civilian population is making the Gulf's image, which so far has been built up for the last 2 or 3 decades, as an oasis of stability, an oasis of financial prosperity, and an oasis where people are being invited to come and live and work and do business. This has been destroyed. I mean, if it's well on the way to being destroyed, if it's not already been destroyed, it'll take certainly years to build back. And the feedback from all these countries, there's nobody there now.
Exactly. That's a very, very big question. In fact, for India also, perhaps, if the fighting does continue and these kind of things do happen, it will be important to also at some point of time evacuate Indians present there. We're going to discuss all of that in just a moment, but there's some more updates coming in. It's a thick cloud of black smoke that's covered parts of Tehran on Sunday morning after overnight strikes hit an oil depot and refinery. The attack is being seen as the first time a civilian industrial facility has been targeted in the conflict. The war, which began on 28th of February following joint US-Israeli strikes on Iran, has so far killed over 1,200 people in Iran, more than 300 in Lebanon, and around a dozen in Israel, according to officials. All right, more breaking news coming in. Iranian air defenses say that they have destroyed an advanced American AGM-158 JSSM cruise missile during the latest wave of attacks. Iranian officials claim the missile was intercepted and brought down before it could hit its intended target. The AGM-158 JSSM is a long-range, precision-guided cruise missile used by U.S. forces for standoff strike against heavily defended targets. Lieutenant General Singh, take us through the significance of this. Why is Iran putting out this information? Does Iran, for instance, we know they have a huge stockpile of missiles, which, according to some reports, has been depleted after the US strikes. But is Iran trying to show that it also has some kind of a missile defense system? How are you reading this development?
See, basically, what we need to analyze is the cost of this missile, which has come down. It would be costing $1 billion. Now, this kind of a missile brought down, even by, on its own, even if its communication system or its guidance system failed. But for Iran, it's a big trophy. Iran would now circulate it around and see, Iranians, one thing is there. They have great capability of reverse engineering. Earlier, they had brought down American drones. They reverse engineered their way through. The current range of missiles that you see on the Iran's inventory are by and large the screwdriver technology where they have reverse engineered their way through. So here also this will find way. Of course, we have to wait till war finishes. But this is to firstly boost up their own confidence. They have to rally their dispersed militias of Al-Basij, IRGC and others with this kind of information that we have trophies. We are bringing down American power. So this is to boost their own confidence, and this is a narrative warfare which is going on.
Right. All right. In fact, there's some more breaking news updates. Iranian Red Crescent has called on the International Criminal Court to start criminal investigations into attacks on civilian targets in Iran. In fact, this is a letter going in from the Iranian Red Crescent calling on the International Criminal Court to start criminal investigations into attacks on civilian targets in Iran. Veena Sikri is also with us, as is Lieutenant General KJ Singh. Veena Sikri, is there anything that can actually be done in a situation like this? And how likely is the International Criminal Court going to take such a complaint coming in from the Red Crescent? Because earlier as well, for instance, when the Iranian warship was torpedoed by a US submarine, there were concerns about international conventions, the Geneva Convention, so on and so forth, not being followed by the United States. What do you make of this development?
No, I think these are important. These are all instances building up. We know that this tragic attack on killing 160 schoolgirls in Iran, this has been terrible. I mean, it's like, and there's been absolutely no indication of any remorse from those who did that attack on 160 schoolgirls. We've seen images of the 160 schoolgirls being buried in mass graves. I mean, this is absolutely tragic. And now, of course, this other appeal to the ICC will definitely have impact. The important point is that according to Prime Minister Netanyahu's statements, he says that he definitely he will not stop until there is a friendly regime in Iran. And he said that this has been his, dream or whatever for the last 40 years. So this is the thing that while President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu keep talking about the people uprising and changing the IRGC and the theocratic regime in Iran. Within Iran, so far, the indications are that everybody has come together because they are so horrified with the attacks being launched on them by Iran and by Israel and USA, that they have actually come together and become united against these attacks. So this is indication that this could go on and on and on. And I think the diplomatic initiative, I think our Prime Minister speaking to all the leaders in the Gulf, not only once, but more than once. And now we are seeing a push back from these very Gulf leaders about Amir of Qatar and others to the USA, telling them, don't do this, don't escalate, stop it, give way to dialogue and diplomacy.
Absolutely. It's do or die literally for the Gulf countries, because this is certainly a war that they would not have wanted. It's hit their perception, certainly, and they would not want this to be an extended, protracted war. I'd like to thank Lieutenant General Singh as well as Veena Sikri for joining us this evening. We're going to slip into a quick break for now.